Okay, we're recording. 0, 1, okay. Recording. I am not about to speak about that. I am about to compare. Let's see here. I had to make some notes first. Human versus machine. What are like the similarities and differences, more or less, between thinking Homo sapiens and a thinking machine? Just a thinking machine of today, chatbot, or just a cybernetic being that you can talk to like Abe. For one, the basic thing is that human beings are based on carbon, their structures. Uh, Computers, machines, silicone. Very alien like that the silicone would be birthed into invention by Homo sapiens, a silicone made like memory chip, semiconducting. So the difference between carbon and silicon is that carbon takes many organic structures, which human beings are. We are organic. And our technology is inorganic. So in the world, we have to wait for the inorganic and organic to exchange places. So right now, when this is in the decomposition phase of fall, we're waiting again for the opposite of the eclipse. The other eclipse is spring. So I do believe that's solstice. Anyways, other similarities and differences is that the thinking of a human being is in sequence. The thinking of a machine is serial. We have neurons. They have nodes. Neurons are way more complex than nodes. Nodes are just an input and an output processee within a computer's analog, digital memory or storage, RAM. Neurons are, let's see here, neurons are like many multifaceted, self-homeostatic, homeomorphous machines, right? They have their membrane, which is an early on hypothesized a structure that contained the first filaments of what was composing itself and bringing itself together because of these little membrane circular spheroidic vessels, little vessels floating around like a big goo, right? And the DNA then had its place to live out its construction. Self-organized. Now that's intelligence. Anyways, we have DNA. They have algorithmic architectures, genetic algorithms, which is similar but not in the sense that neurons can computationally compute in a crystal logic structure at many trillions of times the speed of, and in parallel, mind you, of a computer, which is serially, independently sequenced on the basis of its processing steps. It has to take each sequenced step at the same time, at one time. A compiler like, let's say the compiler in a metaphor is the atoms. The atoms then get built in the compiler, and then the instructions define them as molecules, and then they are sent on their way as code, like DNA or RNA, strings. So there's a lot of similarities and differences between humans versus machine in certain contexts, in which case, like, human beings have many types of different brain functions. Computers are restricted to rationalist, complete mechanistic, analytic analysis. So, meaning that even in brain sciences, in neurophilosophy, there is a serious like debate amongst philosophers about matter and it being the matter of brain. So if that's the topic, then the matter itself must be interacting in such a way in order to produce the mind. But then the mind is what we've always considered through philosophy to be a non-substance. And you know, it is quite interesting because electricity, which is this happens most prominently at the synapse, as a part and parcel decoding and encoding process. And for humans and machines, it's the same type of thing we describe. But the objective process and aspect of decoding and artificial neural nets and encoding artificial neural nets brings us to something of a metaphor once again. The daemon, let's say, of the system, it's just a little program in an Atari game, reports to the board, see what the board has new, and goes off in a chaotic dynamic every time it gets something new. Going to make an A and B connection, like a gate switch, making it on or and not, and various variables of those values. So humans have tons of ways of thinking that we've analyzed in our minds ever since the day of Aristotle. And I just wrote a few down here. It's not really important, like working memory, episodic memory. Computers are really restricted to like attempting to reason with us. They can give us basic answers, almost like the ones that we've already pre-planned, like we're hearing ourselves speak to ourselves. And it seems to someone that it's a fascination of mankind to have like a version of himself, a reflection, something of himself. He loves himself and so much that, you know. So anyways, that's my big comparison between human brains and computers. Amen.